Silly. What? Okay. I'm ready. Wait, am I recording?
Are you?
I'm recording.
I know, right?
I'm recording, and I'm recording. 1, 2, 3, bitch. I'm getting better. We'll see. I mean, we don't know actually until I go after you leave and go in the other room and edit a bunch of this stuff. But if this works, Brooke, like this changes everything. That I have a complete setup that is just you go. You just take it and you go and you shift and you go. And now it's all set up.
And you shift and you go and you take it and you go. And don't forget to go.
I'm not a good rapper. It's fine.
No, I'm not either. I rhymed everything with go.
Captain poops and captain poops.
No.
What is it?
If you say boots and pants,
Boots
but you
and pants
only say the consonants.
We do this
That's
every 5 or
horrible.
6 episodes. We
That
try to
is-
beatbox.
With the same boots and pants. very
We have
white.
Mark Gross on the show today.
Wow.
I know.
Can we talk about how much fun we had with that?
I know. I'm excited. Now, don't mind the video on this. This is when we're getting into, obviously, we're getting into video production. This is the last episode of the month of March, starting April. Y'all, if you subscribe on YouTube, you get all the videos because we're doing this amazing setup. It's now. We're moving to the next level, bitches. So Mark's is the test for all of our regular video episodes, and I'm still learning, so it's kind of wonky, but the audio is going to be great. So you're going to really enjoy the episode.
Yeah, the audio, if you're listening, is always going to be fantastic. Well, unless we just fuck it up. But
I mean,
we're doing our best. However, the video content, you'll get to like work through it with us.
Yeah.
As
But
you
it's
watch.
really good now. I feel like it's really good now, and we're turning it
Well,
into
the video quality, I just mean the editing part.
I know. I'm still working on it.
We're all gonna have that figured out.
It's going to be our late night show format as we wanted, and we're excited about it. I'm excited about Mark Gross though too because I've been friends with him since I was like 19 years old. So we've been friends for 5 years, and do you like my tree? I have to dust it.
It's just
Is
in
it too
my
much
mouth.
on you? Okay.
No, it was like I went here and it was like in my mouth.
Oh, I have to. It's not real. I have to dust it. Or you can get a real one. I don't want to water it. It's fine.
It'll die in here
It'll die in here.
or outside.
Yeah. But he is like he's very modest and stuff, but he is very, very, very high up in the food chain.
Why don't you just say
the
who
industry.
he is? Mark Gross is
an executive producer, showrunner for Mike and Molly. He was on contract with CBS. He is been working in the industry, started as a comic. Anyway, he will tell us all about his story, but he is somebody who, if you are interested in getting into the industry and it isn't necessarily as an actor or you have a passion for writing, this is the episode that you're going to listen to because he's going to actually give you, especially in the bonus episode, he's going to give you a path forward. What you actually have to have ready so that when your luck comes, you're ready to go. And I think that is huge, huge.
and he's funny,
Yeah, he's funny.
like dry funny. It's
oh
great.
my God, can I tell you something?
You better.
Okay. I got one of the best things I've ever purchased other than my Jeep. I got a new pooper scooper. And it's fucking awesome, Brooke.
For your dogs?
For my dogs. I go around with a bag around my thing.
That's what I
put it-
do.
No.
That's what I use my plastic bags for from the grocery store.
Yeah. Poop
It's
bags.
to pick
Where
up
you
poop.
put the poop after that then? Just in the garbage?
Yeah, I tie it up
Recycling?
in the bag
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
throw it in the trash.
I got a pooper scooper. And the one I had before was like a rake one. And I tried to use it and the poop just got all smeared in the rake. And then, because they poop on a cement run on the side of my house. And it just was fucking stupid. And so I got one that is a flat, it's like a scraper.
Oh.
And so if your dog is going to the bathroom on cement, right, then which you should do anyway. If you're walking your dog, you absolutely can walk your dog in the street. I'm telling you right now, they will get used to it and they will poop on the side or on the street and pee on the street. And it is way easier to pick up. I don't take the pooper scooper with me on walks, but I'm just saying, walk your dog in the street. It's way easier. Anyway, so I go out there and I clean zip, 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 zip into my little pan. And then I dump it into the bag that's over the little trash can that's back there.
Can I
It
put a
is
disclaimer
easy. What?
on walking your dog in the street? I happen to live in a neighborhood where there's not a lot of lights.
Oh.
And sometimes I come home at night and there are people walking their dog and they're wearing black.
Well,
they're walking on the street. And so if you're going to
No.
walk your dog on the street, especially at night, will you please have either some reflective gear
get yourself
on
a headlamp.
or
Get yourself
even
a
like
headlamp.
like put your flashlight on your phone. So when you're walking, we can see that there's light.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there because
Get a vest for your dog, like a reflective vest. I think that's,
something, even on yourself, just on yourself even. Because then we'll know that somebody's in the damn street.
And you're supposed to walk against traffic, by the way.
It doesn't matter. You need to have some sort, whichever way you're walking. It's dark. Nobody can see you.
Yeah, but you
I've
can see the
almost hit
cars.
people.
That's on them. Like if you take them out,
Or
at that
on
point,
me.
that's on them. No, it's not on you.
Yeah, it would.
If you hit someone and they weren't wearing good
100%.
outfit, well,
You'd go to jail. I'm not trying to go to jail, so put on some reflective gear, okay?
I'm not trying to go to jail. Don't ruin my life. But you know what's gonna not ruin your life? This episode and a news pooper scooper.
Well, put the link in somewhere.
I will.
Wherever our producer, who's fabulous at copy, puts our links.
Yeah. All right, on to the show.
Woo!
Let's do it. Yay! Okay. I'm super ready. Hi, Mark Gross.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing
You
well,
want to cheers
thank
with
you.
your Coca-Cola
Oh,
can?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Coke
and
Zero.
it's like Coke Zero.
Coca-Cola.
Are you on a keto situation or are you
I am not. I don't know why I quit drinking sugar. I think when you quit drinking it, then you can't stand to drink it again.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what
If I have a
happened with
regular
me.
Coke now, I feel like it's like, zzz, like
That's what I mean.
fizzing in my teeth.
Right.
This is Mark Gross. Mark Gross is a stand-up comic, executive producer, showrunner, family man, longtime friend, 25 years, I think, or something.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I know. And
Gamer?
we're like 19, which is so weird. Right? It's fine.
Wait, how long have you known each other?
25 years.
Oh, so you were like 5.
Yeah,
But
since
I
you're
already
five.
did that joke, so you can't like do it again.
I didn't hear. I wasn't listening
You're
to
right.
you.
It's right. Mark Gross is a very, very close friend of mine, family, if one would say. And he is incredibly successful. Not only is he lovely and kind and a beautiful human being, but he is at the top echelon of working in the industry out here in LA. So it being our industry episode, he was kind enough to take time out of his running skiing schedule and family video game playing schedule to come and sit with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan of the show. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I mean that, not just because I know you guys.
Yay!
It's a
thank
great
you.
podcast. It's fun. You guys are fun.
Well,
Why wouldn't I
good.
want to go
We
somewhere
are
that's fun?
It's
You know what I mean?
So we have you on the show because there's a couple of reasons. One is how, and I don't know if I actually know this story about how you actually got started in stand-up,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that's sort of a life thing that they've always sort of dreamt about, but they would never even know where to begin. And the fact that you made the transition from stand-up into actual TV writing, into showrunner, executive producer of Mike and Molly, and am I allowed to say names of things?
Yeah, of course.
And so many other things, including the things you've been working on recently, that I want to kind of figure out your path and then how you balance it all.
Okay.
So how did you get started? This is Brooke.
Yes, we just had dinner.
Oh yeah, sure.
No. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's I guess when I was a kid, I don't know if you guys ever felt this way.
Nope.
But for me, when I was a kid, I was going, why would anyone want to do anything other than being like, I couldn't believe, I go, why are people working any other job? Like a guy would come to fix our gutter and I'd be like, why are you not doing stand-up comedy? You know what I mean? Like I thought people were bananas.
It's a reasonable question.
I don't know if that's narcissistic or what, but I just couldn't believe that anybody you'd be nuts to want to do anything else for a living. So, when I was a kid, I would watch Johnny Carson a lot, and my parents would go to bed and I'd sneak in there and watch it. And I was relieved. I was like, oh my God, there's a job for me. Like that's my thing. Like it was a relief because I go, I'm different. This is something, I don't know where I fit into this world. Then I saw that and I just immediately, I go, oh my God, what a relief. That's it. That's what I want to do. And then again, I couldn't believe that anyone wouldn't want to do it. But there's people who would rather do anything but this.
Yeah.
Which I don't get. Why would anyone not want to be in the industry? I don't know. But that's the way I was when I was a kid. Now I'm older and I'm like, oh, I get it because It sucks. No, I'm kidding.
It does.
It's horrible. It's soul sucking.
It's just challenging.
No,
It's everything
it is.
it's everything's up in the air. You never feel like there's a solid
security.
Right.
Yeah.
Your creativity is what's driving it all, and you just hope it works out.
But isn't the uncertainty part of
The
the fun?
Yeah.
Like when you wake up in the morning, anything can happen. Like I
Yeah.
feel like when you wake up in the morning, oh my God, anything can happen today. But when I grew up, I'm from Nebraska. When I grew up in Nebraska, I was like, okay, 2 things can happen. You know what I mean?
It can be cold.
It's gonna be cold, and then I'm gonna die. Those are the two things. Those are the 2 things that I have to look forward to. Frigid temperatures and the ultimate the dirt nap there. But it's exciting to me. It's fun and it's the possibilities. So I just fell in love at an early age, and I just was always writing in my mind. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, I didn't know what I was doing, but I later figured out. I go, oh, all those things when I was doing my paper out, and I was coming up with thoughts or ideas or writing stupid short stories or rhyming funny things, whatever. It all leads to where I ended up going.
So how did you take the step into actually? You saw Carson,
Mm-hmm.
which has inspired so many people, and you've actually been on the Tonight Show.
I have,
which is a huge fucking deal.
It was,
by the way.
It was my, thank you. It was my, like when I was a kid, first of all, I don't think in the industry, I always tell people, don't set specific goals. Like, don't go, I'm going to do the Tonight Show, which I did that.
Yeah.
But then, which was stupid because you can't control, you know what I mean? Someone might.
you what not to do.
It's like I did it and I got on.
I did it and it worked.
Don't make it that way. Don't do it that way.
That was my goal, but it wasn't, looking back, it wasn't the right goal. I should have been like, I'm going to be the best comic I can possibly be. That should have been my goal.
Yeah.
Because you can't control how you're
Other
going to be
people
perceived.
giving you-
Right.
Yeah.
The executive producer going, hey, you remind me of this asshole that I went to high school with. I'm not putting you on the show or whatever. You know what I mean? Anything like that can happen. So so I always just go, you have to enjoy the process and the journey. That's the most important thing. Because then you're never disappointed. Right?
Yeah.
That success is just being the best you can be within your means. But I, luckily I set that goal and I fortunately achieved it. But
you did stand up for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even when I met you, you were doing it for a while, only a few days.
yeah,
Because
I
we're
was
so young.
yeah.
But I forgot about our age. So
Yeah,
we were telling people. But when you started, you were doing stand up. You were a road comic,
Mhm.
and were you still doing like Yoder gigs, or were you like?
Yeah, it's funny. We're talking Yoder gigs. People
Yeah.
are going, oh, Yoder gigs. But it's
No,
like,
Yoder,
that's-
Yoder
it's-
gigs basically
yeah.
are you're either a road comic where you're doing really nice rooms like Cleveland or
Week-long
Omaha,
clubs,
or week-long
right,
clubs.
yeah.
Or as you're starting out, sometimes you'll get a Yoder gig, which is Paul Yoder. Is he
John Yoder.
John Yoder. Nobody's watching. It's fine.
No.
He's probably dead, right?
No, he's still alive.
Ah, shit.
In fact,
And
just
listening.
I'm never gonna get a Yoder gig.
yeah.
But you do these shitty ass rooms because you just need the work, and he gives you work. And so you go from Yoder gigs to, doing big clubs for a week, or you go from your first 4 years where you're still wearing like a jacket and a t-shirt, right? Like a suit coat and a t-shirt. And you're like, oh, you're within your first 4 years. It's great. Now we know when you're going to be funny. It's after the first 4 years, by the way. I think that's for everything.
I think so too. You got to put in your
Really?
10,000 hours. You do in everything, no matter what it is.
I think everything takes 4 years to get good at.
So we have
But-
2 more years.
Oh, fuck that, Brooke. I feel
I'm
like I've
getting
been doing
old.
this. It's
Like,
fine.
we need to hurry up.
You guys have been doing this longer than that. You just haven't been recording it the whole time.
That's right.
That's the way I'd look at it.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
the way you.
Yeah.
We've been doing it in our. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
It's true.
Thanks. I
You
won't
guys-
throw
your-
myself out of the room.
Your
tonight.
chemistry developed from just talking and then you figured,
That's true.
why don't we record what we're saying and,
Yeah.
and make some
And
money?
no one will listen. It's fine. No, it's fine.
Well, we don't really do it for anybody else. We
That's
really
kind
do
of
it
the
That's
for
point.
true.
Is
ourselves.
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
it for ourselves
Yeah.
too, because it's about us being inspired by people like you.
and that's what
to-
makes it organic.
Yeah. But so when you started doing stand up, how did you get to the point where you were getting into clubs? Do you remember that process of
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be a stand up and how do I book?
Yeah. I started doing stand up when I stole I borrowed my brother's ID and I entered a comedy competition. You don't know this about me.
No.
When I was, which is weird because I thought we know everything about each other. But I think I was 18 or 19 maybe. And there was a comedy competition in Lincoln. And so I entered it and I used my brother's ID and I got in there. And it was at this club. I don't know, Stooges, I think was the name of it. Doesn't matter.
right.
It was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I entered. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was horrible. And I was
How
a
many
prop
minutes did you
act.
do?
It was like 5 or 10 minutes, I think, is what you had.
Okay.
And I was horrible, but I didn't care. And you learn, obviously you learn as you go, but I did that. And then I was like, I knew that's what I was going to do. So I did that. And then I kept trying to, get on stage anywhere I could. I entered college comedy competitions. There was a Doritos comedy competition when I was in college and I won it, not to blow my own horn. Yeah. I won the Doritos comedy competition
Night show
of Nebraska. I know.
To say, don't tell all your secrets.
All
your secrets.
And I won a year's supply of Cool Ranch Doritos.
You did not.
I did.
Did you take it up on it, or did they never?
No.
They sent you it.
They sent you it. Here's how it works. Because you're always like, what's a year's supply? So they mail you this box, and they were individual, those like party size bags of Doritos. And I was super poor. I was a waiter, and I was going to college, and I knew I wanted to. But there was a period of time where I got fired at my waiting job, and I lived off those Cool Ranch Doritos. And if you brought a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos in here, I don't open it, I would physically be nauseous.
I was going to say, it's a particular person to like either the Cool Ranch or the original, right? So it takes a type of
really
person. Now,
particular. Those Cool Ranch are really particular.
Did you find recipes with those Cool Ranch? Like, did you add black beans or did you?
I was broke, so I would have a glass of water out of my sink, and then I would eat Cool Ranch Doritos out of the bag. And I won't even walk down the grocery store aisle with Cool Ranch Doritos now, because in case I look at them. I can't tell you how much I hate Cool Ranch Doritos, but I'm grateful to them because they got me through some lean times.
Yeah, I felt it. I can understand.
Thank you. So, anyways,
it was clear.
Anyway. So, I do not like Cool Ranch Doritos anymore, but I'm grateful for it.
Good night, everybody.
Don't eat Cool Ranch Doritos. No, but and then I started. Then I graduated from college. I think I took the LSAT because my parents, no one graduated from college from my family, so it was a big deal. And I think my parents wanted me to have my family are all, I'm the dumbass of the family. Like my brother's an astronomy physics guy. My sister's, my brother discovered a star as an undergraduate.
Did he name it Mark Rose?
No, it's kind of it's like really just a series of numbers and letters is the truth of that. So anyways, but they're all very smart. And so I think they had hoped, I think your parents want you to be safe. Like as parents, we're like, we want our kids to be safe. My daughter wants to get in the industry. And I'm like, you're torn because you're like, yeah, go for it. But had you known how hard it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where my parents were. And so I took the LSAT, but I knew I wasn't going to go. And then I loaded up my car and I went to on a route of one-nighters from people that were like John Yoder-ish. There's a million John Yoders in the country.
Love it.
And it was the Rushmore Comedy Tour.
Yes, it was.
Through the South and North Dakota. I started in Minot, North Dakota, and I just got in this car, and my mom was there, and she shut the trunk with all these groceries she stuffed in there for me. And then she started crying. I'm like, why are you crying? I'm like, this is the greatest thing that could ever happen to me. But she was like, years later, she was like, well, I knew you were gone.
Aww.
Yeah. So anyways, but then she was right. I never talked to her again. No, that's not true.
That's not true.
So I drove to Minot and I got my $100 for that first night and I sucked ass. But the guy was like, he was pleased with what I had done. And I was like, really? All right. And then I just kept doing those one-nighters. And then at some point as a comic, you do these one-nighters and it's not an ideal audience. You know what I mean? Yeah. As artists, we like to present to the right audience for our product, right? I never think, like when I'm creating a show, I always tell people, I go, don't alter I'm supervising these kids. I say kids, they're in their 30s, but I'm supervising the show for these kids now. And I go, don't alter your product for one buyer. Don't alter your product for this studio or this network. I go, let the audience find your product. That's what great comics do. Yeah. That's why Dave Chappelle, that's why Brian Regan, they didn't go, well, I better change my act for this audience so I don't suck tonight. They went, this is my act. And if you don't like it, kiss my ass. And they waited till the audience found their product. And that's actually, I think, what you need to do. And the same with one-nighters. You're getting this audience that isn't your ideal audience, but you need the stage time, which is very important because it builds confidence. And you get to the point where you're going, it's okay if I suck because I know who the hell I am. Yeah. And I know I'm good. And of course I'm going to suck at this bowling alley, and there's death rooms like that, I've done. But
we would do well in a bowling alley.
I picture a bowling alley.
That's our only gig.
I grew up in a bowling alley, so I'm picturing those folk, and I don't know. I feel like I could get there.
I mean, but if you're trying to get to the Tonight Show, you're going in a weirdest way because the people at the bowling alley do watch the Tonight Show, but you're not going to impress the producers to put you on. So it's a weird trade you make.
It's more about working the material, right?
Exactly.
It's more for you than them.
Right. And you have to be willing to stand there and die 1,000 deaths and just go, and look at the audience and like, all right.
Do you do that? Do you stare at them and wait for them to laugh?
I did in the day. Yeah, I'd just be like, all right. And then I would always take the beat. I started tapping my foot for my rhythm to go, okay, this is where the laugh would normally end. Do your next joke.
Nice.
Have you seen
Yeah.
the mesothelioma commercial?
I have not.
Wait, what?
Mesothelioma?
Am I the only
What is
person?
Maybe. I mean,
The woman who's like, call for the free book
Oh,
and
yeah.
receive so much more. And her husband's like, he turns and has like the Vietnam hat on, and he's like, "Mrr." I feel like those are the people that you were
Right.
Oh,
talking
yeah,
to.
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
And
Right.
you had that beat where it was like,
Yeah.
Wait,
you're waiting.
wait,
It's such a
Wait.
no
and
one. Am I the only one?
No,
Okay.
I haven't
She's
seen it, but
Okay, good. I know.
Anastasia, producer, is here. She's
lovely young.
sitting
She's seen
in
my
on this shit.
mesothelioma commercial.
Okay, this is amazing. So you went from doing the Yoder gigs, the nighters, to getting into major clubs. How
Major club.
Well,
I mean,
reached,
they were, though.
They were,
I
yeah, it was
know.
improvs and whatever.
Those
But
are
and that's where I
real
met
big
Mel.
rooms,
She was a waitress at the improv. But here's a very very pivotal moment, I should say. In my I was at this one nighter with this guy. I'm not gonna say his name. Doesn't matter. No one will know who he is anyway. But he's one of those one nighter guys. And
Jackie Mason.
No, Sam Greasebaum. Okay, never mind. But forget that I said Sam Greasebaum because he's a nice guy. But he would wear this cowboy, and he was and it was like that was it. Like that's where he was gonna go.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I was like, this guy's killing in these one nighters in these
Yeah.
small towns at some bar because he's a character, but he's not. Like I realized it was started to damage me. Like I am getting stage time, but this isn't going to get me to where I want to get to. So I remember Sam got done and I ate it and Sam murdered and we're sitting there and I go, you know what? I'm not doing any more one nighters. I'm taking like Ken Muller gigs off my list, which was another John Yoder guy. And he goes, well, I could say that too. Big deal. Who you just saying that? And I go, no, I'm really doing it. I'm not taking any more. And it hurt for like a year. Like my booking, my calendar was like, and it was lean times and I had student loans and all this bills. But I knew that if I stopped doing those, I gambled that I would just be doing clubs. And sure enough, the next year, my whole calendar was filled up with clubs because if you go, you have to at some point walk away from the sure thing and gamble for the next step. Otherwise, you never move up. Exactly. You got to do it. So I quit doing those and I just did clubs and people like Sarah and I were hugely instrumental in me, who booked the improvs, a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the right move. But, I knew that I wasn't going to get anywhere doing the other thing. So you got to take those chances.
You got out of your comfort zone and said,
Hell yeah.
I'll suffer for a minute.
Yep.
That's true though, man. We start to get comfortable. Not only that, but you get so scared to take that next step. And it's like, no, you just gotta. Sometimes when you quit that server job because you want to be an actor, it makes you fucking step it up.
Absolutely.
And it also opens the door for those other things to come in. You like clear the space.
Especially if you're eating Cool Ranch Doritos and tap water.
Good times.
You're like driven.
That cloudy tap water.
Yeah.
Where you wait.
Concerning.
Idaho
You wait
tap
for the
water.
you wait for the cloud to settle, so
Nebraska.
trick yourself into thinking it's clear, fresh water. If you just wait long enough and it doesn't look like
settles.
milk.
It's full of vitamins and minerals.
Is
I
it?
thought that was me
What is
when I
it?
was growing up. I would wait for it to settle and then have it next to my bed, thinking that it was ready.
It's
I waited for my water to be ready.
I know, isn't that creepy? It's not like you dipped an Alka-Seltzer in there or something. That's just the straight up water. Yeah, I guess
Oh my god!
since I don't see the milky thing, it doesn't exist anymore. It's not going into my body.
There's so many things that come back. It's like trauma. You know how when you like get hypnotized and you've had trauma, and these things sometimes come back to you, and you're like, oh, I can't believe how like fucked up my life was,
or why I justified those things.
right?
Why did I
Because
do
they were
that?
normal.
Years later, yeah.
Jesus.
Oh my God, my pastor was a drunk.
No wonder why I liked him.
Yeah.
Maybe smell like vodka. I did have a lot of teachers in high school that smelled like vodka.
Same.
Did you?
Yeah. I think if I was a teacher,
Good
in
for
high school,
them.
though-
Miss Shaughnessy. Imagine that.
Oh, well.
Miss Shaughnessy. She was
shit.
drunk every day. And had,
Was that a real person?
and she smoked
No,
like
it's
this.
not.
It was like Marge shot.
Really?
Yeah, she was like serious. And then when it was Ash Wednesday and she had the cross on her forehead, we were like, duh.
Yeah.
She didn't go to church. She was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm in the car. I'll
Just
just.
make it on it.
It's a cigarette.
With my 65 butts in here.
I'll just use this old gold.
That's the other thing. We used to smoke in the car. Back when Mark and I knew each other way when we first met, I was a smoker. We all were smokers. I won't mention that Mark was a smoker, but we were all smokers.
I loved it.
And we would just smoke in the car with the windows closed.
Yeah,
while
hell
we
yeah.
drove places.
I would get out of the shower, and my favorite cigarette was right out the shower with my coffee.
Nice.
As clean and was like as I was, and my
Mine
hair.
was after I exercised.
Yeah, it was.
Me too.
Mark Gross, can I tell this story?
Yeah,
Like,
anyone. I don't care.
There's a lot of them. But Mark Gross we would be up drinking until 6 a.m., 5 a.m. or whatever up in the comedy condos and stuff. And Mark Gross would fucking wake up in the morning after smoking a pack of cigarettes the night before and drinking all night long and go running. Like 6 miles. Not like a mile, like I'm gonna go running. He would run like 6 fucking miles.
I'm not proud of that, but
It was
sounds-
amazing.
I think that's something to tout.
It was amazing.
yeah.
I was impressed every time, and then all of us would still be like sleeping.
She was
on
like,
the couch.
wait for my tap water to be ready. I'll meet you
I would
out
eat
there.
something in the morning and then sleep until 3 or 4 in the afternoon because I knew I had to be up at the club again the next night. So I would like sleep until the afternoon and then go to the club and be like, "What? It's 11 o'clock. It's like middle of the day for me." Yeah.
Those were good times,
Those
though.
were
Well,
very
everything
good times.
closed
It was
late in the
crazy.
Midwest. Like everything closed at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So we would get off work. Like I bartended. I'd get off
Oh, yeah.
work, and then
And you
we
go
would
drinking.
Go out,
Yeah.
and I'd have like 3 hours to drink, and then
At least, and then you find the place where you go afterwards, where everybody goes.
of course.
Yeah. Oh my God. You went from being a road comic, which is a very
Right.
big deal anyway,
Mhm.
to working in network.
Right.
And if you can tell us a little bit about that transition, and then later on we're gonna do just like 20 minutes about actually working in network, and we're gonna get into that for people. But for
Absolutely.
right now, just the transition of that. For
Yeah.
you.
So I was at some point, like I said, I was a comic, and I go, "This is great. This is what I want to do." Blah blah. And at which I still think of myself as a comic who's just had a really long writing job, because that's just the way I think of myself. But and I will always be a comic at heart. But I started. I was always writing, like I was writing scripts on the road, you know, like, and so I was, but then I started to take it seriously. Like I think what happened was I got married, and then, you know, my wife ultimately got pregnant.
Yeah.
Which
You don't have to whisper
which is
it.
another story. My wife got pregnant.
We know how that one
I
ended.
had to put my thing in her. And it's kind of embarrassing to mention, but we were naked.
Every
and-
time
We all
someone-
know how that happens.
No, but every time someone talks about I have a kid, I immediately think about them having sex.
so do I.
Do you?
Yes. I thought about my grandparents. I'd be like, wow, you guys did it a bunch of times and had all these
I walked
kids.
in on my grandparents.
Did you really? I have a great walking into my parents' story.
Oh,
I don't think
You
I
tell
ever
yours.
told
Tell
my
it.
mom this.
Do it.
though.
Let me hear
She
it.
listened to the
And
podcast.
they had a waterbed.
Your grandparents? Good for
Oh,
them.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell it or you want to
Tell it.
Well, I just,
You
I
can't
stay
set it
the
up and
night,
not tell
I go
it.
in, and my grandpa's on top of my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I was
good. He's
like-
not lazy. That's nice.
No,
Right.
he was working it,
Right.
and I was like, bless their hearts, they're both gone. And I was like, can I come sleep with you? Like I had no idea what was
Yeah,
happening,
yeah.
and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
of course,
Did they
I
let
get
you?
right in the middle.
Of the waterbed.
Oh,
Night
man.
night. Oh,
Right,
right on my grandma. My grandma was like, Jesus Christ.
Right, you gotta-
My grandma was
She
like,
was
just
like,
cuddly and like, yeah, my God. She's like, I'm tired.
I love that story.
Just trying to get back to my book.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think this is
Anyway.
a two-person? Do you think they had finished, or do you think they were in the process?
No, I think they were in the process.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a sad
poor
story
Well,
now.
grandma.
it's sad for him. She's fine.
No wonder why Grandpa got up and went.
Yeah, I went to the
He left for a
bathroom and
while.
pulled it for a half an
Yeah.
hour and came back in. All right,
I'm
now.
sorry, Mother, if you're
No.
listening to
Oh, it's
this.
fine.
That's a
It
good-
happens.
Well, they're gone now, so it's,
Well,
they're
yes.
probably in here. It's fine.
I'd like to think that.
Yeah.
But yes.
What is yours?
My grandma's like,
So-
Can you tell yours?
No, it's not. It's not a great story.
Okay.
My parents never locked their door. I was dating this girl in college. We're driving by the house, and I go, "This is my house. I want you to meet my parents." And she was very like, "No, I don't want to meet." No, like she was super embarrassed about that. And I go, "Just come up." So we did this thing where we would ring the bell, then you open the door as you walk in, like ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
Why?
Hey,
Just
Because
so you
people were
know
having
you're
sex?
coming.
I give them a 5-second heads up, and then but you just walk in. It's your house.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I walk in, and the lazy boy was right in the middle of the living room, and my mom. I shouldn't be telling you this story. But my mom and dad were having sex in this chair. All right, it's a true
Oh,
story.
good for them.
Yeah, that's what I say.
It wasn't like in a bed or anything. It was
No,
like
right in the and my mom jumps up, and I just see her naked body go pew, like bolts into the bedroom, and then my dad's just sitting there in the chair,
with his stuff out.
right, with his
Because he's like, you walked into my
right,
space.
and he's just sitting there,
With
and he
your
looks,
girlfriend.
and I'm sitting there with her, and we're both, and then my dad just goes, Then he crossed his legs and he picked up his cigar and he just goes, and that was it.
That's awesome.
He just crossed his legs to hide his boner, and then he smoked the cigar and just sat there and contemplated.
Becky. Did you guys stay the whole time though?
We kept dating.
Did you decide you were gonna have dinner and like stay the whole day?
And
no.
You're like, I'm finishing this
with
shit.
the apron and cigar, and
I shut the door, and it was never brought up again. Never brought it up until now on this podcast.
Would you know that I ran down the hallway? My dad came home from work early, and I was changing after school, and the home phone rang, and I was in my underwear, and I ran down the hallway to get the phone because nobody was home. No one was ever home. My dad walks in the front door as I'm running down the hallway, and it was carpeted, and I had like bra off.
Everything.
And I
got big boobies too, yeah.
And I was running, and I was like, oh! And I just grabbed them, and like I slipped and fell in the hallway, and my dad was like, Jesus Christ! Like he closed his eyes, and I was like, oh my God! So I basically ran down the hallway, and
that's all right.
I have a lot of seeing people naked stories too.
Yeah, we could
now
go on.
I think we're not. That's another episode.
Yeah. All right, let's get
so I'm sorry. So my daughter was on her way, and so I was like, I need to, you start thinking, because I didn't want to be on the road. First of all, you're on the road 52. There was a year, I did 2 years on the road when I knew you, where I never went home for 2 years. Like I was just lived on the road for 2 years straight. And that's when I was going, I got to get Montreal. Like I get to Montreal.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, that's my goal. I'm going to lock in. So anyways, but I couldn't live like that anymore. I was like, I don't want to be the guy that's gone all the time. So I started writing more seriously. I started taking it more seriously. And I wrote a couple of terrible specs. And my joke with my agent now is, I sent one of these spec scripts to her, and she had seen me on stage somewhere, and she said, send us something. So I sent 2 scripts out. Here's an inspiring story to young writers, hopefully. So I sent one out to this guy, this old timey agent, and then one to this lady whose name happens to be Nancy Josephson, who's now at WME, which is where I am. But at the time she was at, oh God, where were we then? I don't remember. Somewhere that became Endeavor and then became WME.
Oh yeah.
She always took me with her. But I sent her
with her.
Yes, well,
that's good.
Yeah, I was happy.
Loyal, yeah.
I'm very super loyal to her. Anyways, but I sent it to her, and I call the guy, and he goes, "This is a tough note to give, but you're not funny." He goes, "You're just not funny. The script, it's not. You should write drama or something. I don't know if you should even write." He's like, "You just," and I'm going, "Really?" And I'm like, God, I just did the Tonight Show a couple times, and I've earned every penny since college out of making people laugh. But this guy was like, "You're not funny. You're not a funny person." And
I go, like, that's why you're a tiny agent.
Yeah.
He had a hairpiece.
Thank you, John Yoder.
Anyways, and then Nancy reads it, and she calls me, and we were in Mexico at the time, my wife and I, and she goes, "Yeah, we love it. We wanted, And then I went back and I reread the script. This is within the last few years, and my joke with her is, I go, "I have less respect for you now as an agent
because you picked me up."
Because you picked me, and she goes, "Yeah." I go, I used to have this huge respect for you, and then I read this, and I go, "Why would you even want this script's a piece of shit?" And she goes, "I didn't see where you were. I saw where you were going."
Yeah.
Smart woman.
All right. So anyways, that was that. So, that was sort of the beginning. And then I ended up, I was writing for another comic who we talked about before, Rodney Carrington.
Yeah.
And I wrote a lot of his special and his music and things like that. And then, he was at Capitol, and I was on Capitol Records as well as a comic. And so when he got an overall or a holding deal at ABC, I co-created the pilot with him. And this guy named Rick Swartzlander and Damon Wayans at one point was in on it, and all this other stuff. And Don Rio and all those guys. But anyways, that was the start for me. And we were lucky because the show got picked up. It went on the air, which is insanely fortunate. Mm-hmm. And that was the beginning for me, And then once you get, you have something like that happens, people are like, "Oh, maybe this guy knows what he's doing," which I didn't, but it worked out. So.
And then you went on from Rodney to was Mike and Molly next, or what came
No, next I was I guess I was writing for, now that I think about it, I was writing for Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher on the road as a comic.
I remember, yeah.
And then Rodney came, I guess. And then I was staffed on a show called Gary and Married with Jay Moore. And Paula Marshall, who's lovely, and a wonderful actress. And that show did pretty well. It was on I've never been on a show that went less than 2 seasons until this last year. So I guess that doesn't count anymore. But anyways, and then I went on to Mike and Molly, and we were there for 6 years, and I was lucky. And that's when, but I met James Burrows on Gary and Married, which was a huge break. And Jimmy started taking me on other shows. Like he would bring me to other shows. Yeah. And that was a huge, James Burrows, by the way, is legendary.
Cheers, Frasier,
everything,
Friends,
right, everything.
Amazing.
So,
by the way, listen to his book if you can, because it's
so
read
good.
His book. I don't read books, but
I
listen to his book.
a lot,
It's so good.
I've listened to it like 3 times.
Yeah,
you know what I love about Jimmy's book? Because I know him personally. Like, it's weird to know someone and then listen to them. But he goes, you can hear him when he goes, all right, so, I'm on, whatever, Mary Tyler Moore and blah, blah, blah. And then you can tell, like, they needed to go back and dub something in that wasn't right. And he goes, and then I got it. And then you hear this. And I told Mary, I was blah, blah, blah. It's like Jimmy, he just didn't go back in, and he's like, I already did it. I don't need the I'm not doing it again.
Tone, I don't give a shit.
So some other clearly not Jimmy voice is there. It's really, I love that about the book. But anyways, but that was really fortunate. I've been very, very lucky, and I learned a lot from Chuck. Like, I was a joke writer for a long time. Like, I knew jokes and I knew how to write funny stuff, but I didn't understand story. And Chuck taught me what story actually is. Chuck Lorre, right? And I sat in the chair next to him for whatever 100 and however many episodes we did, 130 or whatever. And I just studied him, and I was like, it was like a free college. It was like I would have paid to get what I got from Chuck. But luckily, it was a show that ended up syndicating, which we still continue to make money from, which is nice. But it was story. Like, funny is funny, but story is the most important thing, because if the audience doesn't care, no matter how good the jokes are, if the audience doesn't care about the story of the characters, they're not going to keep tuning in. So
you've always been really good at that, though. Like, you always have been about story, even like you were saying, the podcast or story or things that you listen to, because you love the human stories. And even way back in the day, we would all just sit around and talk and whatever. And you were always so attentive, and you're just a really good listener. You can tell that you're listening when you make people in the room feel like they're really important, which is very cool. But you can tell that you're taking everything in, and you're a nice person. So when people talk about networking in the industry and stuff, it's always a bad word or whatever. And it really isn't, because this is proof for you in front of you. Mark Gross has been networking by showing up, doing the work, doing the research, also being talented, happens to be, but watching and learning from the people around him and creating really good relationships, which then has taken you. People like to work with you. People like to be around you. That's huge.
Sorry, what did you just say?
I don't. Doesn't
I'm
matter.
kidding. I'm joking, because I was joking about not listening. I'm joking. That's very kind of you, Mel. That's very, very insanely flattering. It's also when people talk anywhere, whatever you're doing, like, I always look at it as a. When you're a writer or an actor or whatever you're doing, you should always study people, and there's always something to get from every single person, and it comes and bring it with you. So I do it from a selfish standpoint more than anything, where I'm going, how can I? It's like adding a new golf club to your bag. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah. How can I rip off your
tool
thing?
in your toolbox?
Right.
Like a succubus and like trying to steal.
And I think
essence.
what I'm even gauging, and I don't know you that well, but from all of that, is that you kind of like just trusted, like you were saying, the process. You went out there, you put yourself out there, you did the work, and trusted that it would work out or not. It doesn't matter, because you just felt compelled that this was what you had to be doing. I mean, as you yelled at the roofing guy, like, why aren't you doing comedy?
In his mind. I don't think you really know it.
No, I'm picturing
you did.
the
It's
real.
fine.
You're an idiot.
Why aren't you doing stand up? And the guy's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?
Fixing your house, asshole."
Exactly. I need that message right now, honestly.
Well, here's what nobody wants to hear. But you have to have faith.
Oh, you wanted to hear that?
Yeah.
No, here's what you don't want to hear.
Nobody wants to hear that. Ultimately, it comes down to faith. But you have to have faith in because what else is there? And when you go, there's nothing else that's going to make me happy. This is it. You have no choice but to have faith. Mm-hmm. But the people who go, well, this doesn't look like it's working out. I'm hell with this, and they quit or whatever. It opens up a new spot and it increases your odds, that kind of thing. But more importantly, it's like you have to. That's what I mean when I say you have to. You have to just go. You have to just hope that something is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it will. Ultimately, it does. But you have to hang in there. There's just something. Not to get all mystical, but it's like every time I'm like kicked in the nuts, and I'm like, well, that's it for me. I'm done. If you hang in there, something always comes. It just always comes.
Just in you. I think that's the thing, is like from when you were little, you didn't understand how people weren't just doing this. You saw Carson and you were like, I don't understand. So I feel like there's certain people, and you have to decide that for yourself. If it's just in you, I don't have the ability to do anything else.
Right.
Like I'm a really good bartender, which is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a good mixologist. Like I'm not innovative or anything, but I could bartend the rest of my life. But I don't have the ability to do anything else well except for this shit.
Right.
So I either figure out how to do it or That's
Do you
silence.
ever look at jobs sometimes and go,
I do.
And you're just like, no, fuck.
I can't.
No shit.
Like it makes my vagina hurt a little bit.
It does.
Well, me
your
too.
vagina-
I feel like
her
in my
vagina-
insides,
He
I'm
said,
like,
me
this
too.
Tell me about it.
Your vagina
My
reacts.
pie
to
hurts.
emotions.
But you do have to hang in there. You got to hang in there and do it. And nobody, like I said, and for every great success story, there's 100 things that didn't work out. But I guarantee you this: the people who did work out were the ones who didn't lose faith. I mean,
and you just hope for that Nancy Carrington effect where other people get taken out so the door opens.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, when he said that a little while ago, he was like, somebody will get taken out and give up. That opens the door for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes.
So you need a Tanya Harding.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't
like
hurt.
Your alter ego.
No.
You don't do it. You have somebody else do it. We'll talk about it later. Last question for today. Until we just do a few minutes afterwards about a couple things. It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It does. It doesn't matter to them.
It might if they're interested.
How do you?
We're gonna cut that part out.
That's a stretch. You mean I'm gonna cut that part out?
I'm talking to you, Mel, in your ears.
Mel in the future, cut this part.
What? Fuckerino.
Get in there, girl.
All right.
Okay, Mark, I want to ask you a couple questions. How is the balance working? Because being at network at your level is not easy.
Right.
It is very time consuming, and you have a lot. I'm sure you feel like you have a lot of people. I almost said riding on you. That's not a thing. But people waiting on you. People, you are in charge of a lot of people and their jobs and all these things. Like, how do you balance at your level family and work?
It's a great question. I guess for a long period of time, I was like, my focus has to be success at work. Otherwise, the family doesn't, my daughter's going to say goodbye to all of her friends. We're going to move to Sylmar. I don't know why I'm picking Sylmar.
Well, because it sucks.
It's not
sucks.
great.
I'm
Sylmar
sure
isn't great.
I've never been there. I don't know.
It's not fantastic.
It's
All right.
really awful.
But I would always think like that. And that would motivate me. Fear motivated me a long time. And so I kind of, I don't want to say I neglected my family, but I was like, I have to absolutely do this. And if mom is more of a presence in my daughter's life, that's just what it's going to be. And it's, so that's what I did for a long time. And I just came off, I did 3 overall deals at CBS, which is basically you are staffed on a show while you are also developing and creating shows. Okay. And I was on a 2-year contract to do that. And I go, all right, but that's like every moment of your life that you're not sleeping, you're working. Even on the weekends, I'd be like, so I wasn't, that's just the price I paid. Then I did another one. Then I did one more. So it was 6 years of overall deals.
Okay.
And then now I was like, I got to the point where I go, I don't need to, my daughter's home for one more year, this year and next year. So I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I go, I'm not trying to make up for lost time because I'm happy for what I did and got, I sold 6 shows in 7 years. That's pretty good,
It's pretty amazing.
It's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And she's incredibly inspired by you because she gets to be in that environment and see how hard you work. And she's also a very good director.
Yeah, thank you. And she said she said to me one day, one of my favorite quotes of her, she was a little girl, she goes, Daddy, because she go on a lot and she sees me, we're just jacking around, we're giving each other shit, these writers just busting each other's balls and stuff. And she'd be like, well, this looks like a fun place. This is a cool place to work. And you're on, it's cool. And so I think at a young age, she kind of was like, oh, that's normal.
You were her Carson.
Right. Yeah. She's like, well, this is normal.
Why don't people just do this all the time?
Right. Yeah. Do anything else. And then one day I was driving and she goes, hey, Dad, I think I figured out what I want to do. I'm like, all right, what is it? She goes, I think I want to be a writer. And she goes, but if that doesn't work out, I think I'd be okay directing. Made me right, which I love that she thought the totem pole was the thing that I did versus the obviously. But yeah, so that was. But anyways, but now I'm to the point, and I'm very lucky to get to a point where I only do stuff that I want to do right now. So the shows that I'm doing now, the stuff that I'm doing now, I'm not just going. What's the best thing out there that I could get on? I'm kind of being more, like what, life's short, and what do you want to do? What do I want to do? And I'm not working 7 days a week and that kind of thing. So that's sort of where I'm at now, and then we'll see what happens. But it's you have to just constantly keep, in order to get there, you just have to keep grinding, man. There's no, I don't know what else to say other than just, if you want to write. You should be writing. Write. If you want to write. That's it.
That's exactly right.
Stop looking at me.
Just fucking listen.
So anyways, but that's the sort of, and I'm happy to be where I'm at now. And I'm very fortunate, very happy. And whatever the next thing is, you also have to go when something sucks, when something falls apart. It's a good thing because whatever the next thing is was the, I mean, it's the old adage.
Room,
right.
Like
yeah.
that's
exactly. It's so hard to see it that way when it's happening to you, but
yes,
it's true. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm pointing at her.
Yeah,
pointing at Anastasia because that's what it is.
Yeah.
She's in development and she's incredible. Anyway, we'll talk about that later too. Thank you, Mark Gross. That was
thank
really
you. No,
wonderful.
you guys, it was a blast. Anytime. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
You have to sit here for 20 more minutes.
Okay.
So thank you.
So if this wasn't enough for you and you want to hear more from Mark, we do have him on our Patreon page. You can go over there and check out some more extensive bonus material.
Yeah, when you want to kind of figure out, we're going to talk a little bit about spec scripts. We're going to talk about how to get into the industry, what it's like in the writer's room, and a little bit of the positions and what you were talking about with being staffed and all that stuff. Just get the language out there. So people that want to become writers who go, I have no fucking idea. I'm not a stand-up, but I really want to write. We want you guys to kind of have a little bit more of a clear path from Mr. Mark Gross.
I'm looking forward to hear what you wrote for.
Oh, that shitty script. Ugh, God,
all right, so stay tuned.
Oh.
Bye. Thank you, Marcos.